morning, everyone. And hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. Hopefully my camera, microphone, internet, gods of Zoom, and all the other software that we're using is working correctly. You know, this is the usual greeting nowadays. Hope you are all well, and thank you so much for joining us in yet another webinar organized by EHPA. This one being the first for this year. So if we didn't have the opportunity to talk before, also wishing you a very, very late and delayed Happy New Year. And again, hope everything is well where you are and where you work. So why are we here today on this lovely morning? Well, depending where you are. In Brussels, it's raining. We are here to talk about our platform for renewable heating and cooling. And I'll go a little bit in detail on that just a little bit later, so you can learn more about it. But specifically, because of this project, because of this platform, we have the opportunity to look in depth into the different circumstances and different opportunities and to get the expertise of very interesting perspectives and very interesting people from specific countries. So maybe you have participated before, but this is actually the fifth national roundtable that EHPA is organizing or has helped organize. We organized before in Ireland, Portugal, Lithuania, Spain. Our partners are organizing in other countries as well. So today it's the turn of Croatia. So it gives me great pleasure to be with you today and to find out more about the opportunities and everything that is happening in Croatia from a standpoint of renewable heating and cooling. Now, just to talk a little bit about the agenda today, the webinar will be quite short, but it will be a lot of information. So I hope you already have your coffee and you're sitting comfortably and the headphones are working and everything. So just a little bit of a welcome from me. So my name is Dan Stefanica. I'm the head of EU projects here at EHPA. Then a little bit about EU missions. A very important project started by the EU Commission. Then we have a panel discussion moderated by Boris Labudovic, including 4 speakers from Croatia with different sets of expertise, bringing you an ample image and story of everything that is happening in Croatia. Both may be good, both may be bad, but for sure a complete perspective, as well as some opinions of how to move forward in our field. Then, of course, just a little bit of conclusions and what's happening in the future in terms of events. So just to talk a little bit about the RHC platform, the platform on renewable heating and cooling, a project that we are very proud to participate in, representing heat pumps, but that where we are not alone. There are also other associations representing other renewable heating and cooling technologies and energy sources, such as biomass, solar thermal, district heating. So a very, very interesting project, and one that is very interactive as well, in the sense that you, the participant, can benefit from a lot of opportunities. So what is this platform, this RHC platform? Well, it's actually a European technology and innovation platform. It's one among others, so this is not unique, but this is a very special project, like I said before. It showcases all the technologies related to heating and cooling. It showcases the projects that deal with this. It brings together experts in this field. It writes a lot of documents. It basically gives a lot of feedback towards the policymakers with what needs to change, what are the good things, or what research and innovation is needed. What are the goals of the platform? You can see them hopefully on the screen, is to develop working relationships with other relevant actors and platforms that we are doing and constantly are improving in that. Is to establish strategic research and innovation agendas in general for renewable heating and cooling, and in particular for our set of technologies. Is to develop and identify priorities and of a cross-cutting nature, such as education and training, is to report and constantly monitor the research and innovation, the development that is happening in our field. So very nice. The platform is also responsible for free strategic documents. One of them is the vision to 100% renewable heating and cooling in Europe by 2050. This has already been completed. And then the vision leads to a strategic research and innovation agenda for the field and for the field in general, and for example, for heat pumps in particular. These documents have also been already completed. And then we have the vision, we have what is needed, then the concrete actions that need to be undertaken to actually achieve these goals. And that is the deployment actions, again, a document that has been completed quite recently. Now, my slides have some QR codes. If you have your phone handy with you, all you have to do is scan the QR codes and it will take you to the link that I'm talking about. Basically, how you can participate. There are many ways. One very pertinent one, let's say, is we have been actually gathering a lot of information on the funding resources that are available for our field in different countries around Europe and beyond. You can take the survey that is on screen now, and you can give your inputs. If you give your inputs, basically the document and the database that we have just becomes more complete. And also this gives the pertinent policymakers a chance to take a look into the differences between countries, where are their gaps, but also to take a look into the countries that are doing very, very well and they have very good established programs, so they can actually use them as examples. Then something really interesting is the Renewable Heating and Cooling Projects database. Basically, for the last years, EHPA has been gathering data for the projects that are in our field. You can see the database now on screen. It has about 150 projects. It's constantly updated. And you also have the opportunity to just submit your project directly. The form is very easy to use. And then after a little bit of a check that it's actually suitable for the database, it will be there. The basic goal of this database is that we gather all of these projects from different funding schemes, and using the filters that you have on the right, you basically can find a project or a set of projects really, really easy by using the filters. This, of course, is planned to not only continue, but also expand in the future. But that is, of course, conditional on continued funding of the platform. Then becoming a member. Becoming a member is very easy. It's, of course, free. You would be joining a community of over 800 other members and experts from all over Europe and from all the renewable heating and cooling fields. And it comes with a lot of opportunities, such as being able to contribute to all the documents that we have directly via feedback, being able to participate in the very targeted events that the platform is making, maybe even being a speaker in these events. So a lot of opportunities, and hopefully you can take advantage of this. Something else about the platform is divided into horizontal working groups and technology panels. For example, there's a technology panel on heat pumps. Again, joining it is really easy, and you would also be maybe joining, if you want to, as a complementary service, you would be joining the Research and Innovation Committee of the EHPA. Basically, this committee gathers experts from all over the world. It meets 3 or 4 times a year, always online, by the way, so no traveling required. And its goals is to establish the next research and innovation directions for our field, and also to look into funding, into projects, and so on. So everybody can attend, and you are more than welcome to do so. So being part of the RHC gives you access to all these resources. Just a little bit about one document that we've made, the one that we talked about, the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda for Heat Pumps. And you can see on the screen how it was made. Maybe this will entice you to go to the documents folders and check them out. It's basically on a life cycle analysis basis. So if you've ever been curious about a life cycle analysis of heat pumps, one that is done in a very easy to understand way. It's from many standpoints. It's already there and it's already freely available. So if you will scan the QR code, it will take you to where all the documents are. If not, don't worry, because the recording of this webinar will be available. The slides will be given to you as a follow-up email. And yeah, you'll basically have all the information available. All you will have to do is just go to the website of the RHC platform and consult it. So that's all from me. Again, if you have any questions, we can talk about this afterwards. And with that being said, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Christos Fragaquis, Policy Officer at the European Commission, DG RTD. Christos joined DG Research and Innovation in 1987, where he worked as a project and policy officer in a variety of research sectors, including, and these are a lot, by the way, marine science and technology, coastal engineering and protection, integrated coastal zone management, water resources management, biodiversity, ecosystems and ecosystem services, nature-based solutions, cultural heritage, and innovating cities. His last appointments have been Deputy Head of the Sustainable Management of Natural Resources until May 2019. And since then, he is the Senior Policy Officer in Future Urban and Mobility Systems for an EU Research and Innovation Policy on Innovating Cities. He received his bachelor's in marine engineering from Newcastle University in the UK and his master's in ocean engineering from Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the US, better known as MIT as well. Very, very happy to have you here, Christos, and very happy to know more about this really, really interesting initiative of the European Commission, and very interested to see the presentation. And hopefully you have control over the mouse and your microphone and camera is working. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Dan, for the kind introduction. So good morning to all of you. It's really a great pleasure for me, to join your meeting. Thanks also to Dan for this comprehensive presentation of, the activities of the platform. To be quite honest, it simply strengthens my opinion that, your meeting is very, very timely indeed with respect to the implementation of the city's mission, the mission of the climate neutral and smart cities. Because I do believe that your community has got a very, very critical role to play to help the cities out there to incorporate the heating and cooling component into overall climate action plans and have integrated approaches, how to go to the transition to climate neutrality or carbon neutrality by 2030, but definitely not beyond 2050, which is the objective of the Green Deal policy. So first of all, why did we go for a mission to cities? Well, you know better than I do that cities are major contributors to many of the big challenges, global challenges. A big proportion of the population, the European population, 75% of the European citizens, they live in cities today. And the projections are that the urbanization will continue to grow. So by 2050, we expect that about 85% of the Europeans, they will live in cities. That means that they are heavy consumers of energy, 65% at global level, and of course, heavy emitters of CO2, of greenhouse gas emissions, 70%. And that means that unless the cities engage decisively and urgently in transitions towards carbon neutrality and climate neutrality, there is no way that we can reach the objectives of the European Green Deal. And there is no way that we can reach the objectives, if you like, of the Paris Agreement or the Glasgow Agreement for climate change. Now, we see that this mission will be also an opportunity for the European citizens to see the tangible benefits of the European Green Deal. That means that because climate neutrality probably to the European citizens doesn't mean very much, but because in engaging in a pathway towards climate neutrality, there will be, of course, a reduction of the pollution, air pollution and noise pollution. There will be more sustainable mobility and transport in the cities. That means less congestions, less traffic jams. And then, of course, there's going to be more greening of the cities, more biodiversity in the cities. That means the cities will become more livable with better quality of life for the citizens. Now, we have been overwhelmed by the response of the cities to a questionnaire, whether they want to engage in this climate neutrality to 2030. We have received 377 proposals. I will come back to that, which is quite overwhelming. Now, of course, there are many, many barriers. I mean, there is a goodwill from the cities to engage in this climate neutrality pathway. The only thing is that there are many, many barriers. And we hope that this mission, if you like, will help the cities to overcome these barriers. So, a very legitimate question is that, listen, there are so many initiatives, there are so many policy frameworks, funding frameworks that exist right now, for cities. Do you need another one? I mean, I'm not going to go through all of them. There are many policy initiatives, in the transport area, the mobility area, the climate, for greening the cities. You have the mayors. So why do we need another one? Well, what is a distinct feature of the city's mission with respect to what already exists there is that the city's mission is a very customized approach to climate actions. So that means it will address the specific needs, the specificities of every city. So it's not a blanket approach where the cities more or less are treated in an equal way. It recognizes the fact that every city is a context in its own right. So the cities is going to be a completely bottom-up approach. The cities themselves, they will identify what the needs are. Through the mission, they will be able to adapt a systemic approach. So beyond silos, not only sectorial silos, but also disciplinary silos and institutional silos. So it will give an opportunity to cities to set up the governance that it is needed, governance that essentially needs to combine the different levels. So you have the EU level, you have the national level, you have the local, the regional level and the local level. These levels have to coordinate harmoniously if we want to achieve, this climate neutrality objective. Now, an important feature of that is that the cities are being put right at the center, not only of the implementation, but also of the design of these action plans, because we want to have a buy-in by the society, because unless there is a buy-in of the society, there will not be the behavioral changes that are necessary, if you like, to enable the cities to reach climate neutrality by 2030. So what are the objectives? First of all, we hope that we will showcase 100 climate neutral cities by 2030. It's a very, very ambitious objective, and we're well aware of that. But in addition to those 100 lucky cities, we hope that those cities, they will serve as a hub, a beacon, if you like, to disseminate the know-how, to disseminate the expertise to other cities outside, beyond this 100, in order that those cities, they can reach climate neutrality by 2035, 2040, 2050, but not beyond 2050, of course. So there are two main components for the city's mission. The first one is the climate city contract. I will come back to that. Then there is a mission, there is an entity, if you like, that has been set up to support cities in their pathways, the pathway to climate neutrality. There are elements that go across, they address funding, financing, the governance issues, as we said, and also the engagement of the societal actors and the cities. Now, they are supposed to set up monitoring frameworks and reporting in order to enable everybody to to know what cities are doing and can learn from each other. There is going to be, of course, a research and innovation action. So through Horizon Europe, but not only, there will be large-scale demonstrations by the platform, the mission platform itself. And there is going to be a label in order to enable those cities, if you like, to open doors for the successful cities to more funding opportunities to join other initiatives elsewhere. Go to the previous one. Wait a minute, how do I go? So previous, there we are. Okay, so what is this famous mission platform? Well, back in 2020, under the Horizon 2020 framework program, we published a topic with 53 million in order to set up a platform, as I said, to assist the cities in these pathways to transition to climate neutrality. So the successful consortium was the Net Zero Cities. It has already started, full operational from the 1st of October last year. It's a consortium of 34 partners. So it's a huge consortium that combines expertise, not only in technology, not only in climate science, but also in finance, in social innovation, communication, all those elements that are very essential, if you like, for the cities. This platform with the resources that has been endowed will address the first wave of the cities. That means the cities that are best prepared at this moment in time to reach climate neutrality. But then again, of course, we will plan to establish a more sustainable structure, a structure that will be there to help the 100 cities and beyond. So what kind of services it will provide? As I said, it's 34, there are 34 partners. They combine diverse expertise. So it will give assistance, in terms of technology, regulation, financial. Also, it will help the cities to design their climate cities contracts and then to roll out those contracts. Those contracts, they have to incorporate, of course, investment strategies because the investment necessities are enormous for the cities to achieve climate neutrality. And then it will provide opportunities also for the cities to test their approaches in real world conditions. That means test the solutions that they want to implement on the ground, and then of course to cluster, to collaborate with other cities in order to spread the expertise. An essential part of that is the social innovation, as I said, because we want to mobilize all the relevant actors in order to engage in co-creation and like that to have buy-in, and then of course to trigger the necessary behavioral changes. So what is the climate city contract? Well, the word contract probably is misleading. It's not a legally binding instrument by any means. It's just a memorandum of understanding that has to be signed by the mayor or any other person who is competent to engage his or her city in this transition to climate neutrality. It is made, as I said, by every city to address its very, very specific needs to reach climate neutrality. It has to be co-created by all the authorities as well as the stakeholders, the societal actors, the industry, in order, as I said, to have acceptance of the plans. And then in addition to the technical implementation, it has to address the governance, the multi-level governance, to come up with a very sound investment strategy, and also the monitoring and reporting strategy to enable to follow up the progress and adjust the plans if they are needed. So what is the mission label? Every city that will succeed in signing a climate city contract, they will receive a label that this is a kind of a proof, if you like, as to the robustness and the quality of their climate action plan. That hopefully, as I said before, will open the doors for further funding opportunities from other frameworks beyond the city's mission. The city's mission, and then hopefully, it will give visibility. It will publicize a city to attract attention from private investors or public investors that this city, is really fully engaged. So make extra investments in this city. Now, just to say a few words about the expression of interest, we had published an expression of interest back in December. The deadline was the 31st of January. As I said before, It's an overwhelming response, 370 cities from all member states, and that I have to underline that all cities from all member states have engaged in the process. Quite impressive number if you account for the population of those 370 cities. 377 cities is 18% of the total EU population, and that is quite impressive, I have to admit. So as far as the work program, the work program under Horizon Europe will support research and innovation to support cities in designing and rolling out their climate cities contract. It is part of the work program that doesn't belong to any cluster. Why? Because the missions are cross-cutting. So funding from all the clusters, Horizon Europe clusters, they will contribute to the implementation of the work programs of the cities missions. Now, we hope that there will be a lot of complementarities and synergies with partnerships. Your platform, as I said before, they have a huge, very, very critical role to play, to go to speak to the cities and help them how to incorporate the heating and cooling in their climate action plans. And then, of course, it will contribute to several relevant policies, Green Deal, pollution, the UN sustainability agenda, the Fit for 55, biodiversity, climate change adaptation and mitigation. So just to give you an idea, well, I'm sure that you are aware of that. So what type of topics we have published under the city's mission work program in 21-22, well, the call is open right now. The deadline is for the 26th of April. So I will strongly encourage you, to engage in this process. Now, there are urban planning and design, so cross-sectorial issues, how the urban planning and design can help cities to become more just, sustainable, resilient, and climate neutral. Another one is how to foster the innovation potential of the public transport in order to really become a backbone of the urban mobility. A framework partnerships in order to ensure a more sustainable life of the mission platform. As I said, the mission platform is only for the first wave of the cities. So we hope that by establishing this framework, it will give more resources to the platform to reach out to not to the first 30, but to 100, and then even beyond the 100. Then one on positive clean energy districts. Again, heating and cooling, I believe, has got a major role to play in achieving this difficult concept, the PEDs. And another topic is how to foster, to strengthen, if you like, the international dimension of the city's mission, so enable the European cities to link with their counterparts everywhere on the globe. There is a topic for the 2022 that is, again, on the mobility, how to make mobility more inclusive, safe, affordable, and sustainable. Just some information that you can receive. So there is a newsletter. You can register for that and receive the newsletter to see what is the progress that is being achieved within this city's mission. If you have any question regarding the city's mission, you can write to this address. And then there is a web page where all the documentation, the evolution of the city's mission will be fully reported. I hope that I have not abused the time. Dan, then probably pass the floor back to you. And if there are any questions, I will be very, very happy to try to answer them. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you so much, Christos. And really, congratulations. I mean, the level of feedback that you received is really impressive. I mean, those numbers were really, really impressive, by the way. Just to let you know, everyone, that of course there's a chat box, there's a Q&A box. Feel free to ask for details on this if you wish. I personally really liked the personalized approach, as well as the mission label. The mission label that encourages, actually gives kind of like a dose of confidence towards investors and other funding agencies to continue funding the particular city. So really impressive, very nice, and thank you so much for presenting it to us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, moving forward, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Boris Labudovic, executive editor, Edgy magazine. He was born in 1973 in Zagreb. He graduated from the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering and Naval Architecture at the University of Zagreb in 1998. He's currently the executive editor of the Edgy magazine. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not. I'm sorry. Edgy. Thank you so much. Edgy magazine, and editor of the energeticanet.com portal. Author, co-author, coordinator, and technical editor of numerous books and handbooks. Truly a pleasure to have you here, Boris.
Thank you.
And to be honest, to learn more about the magazine that you are the executive editor of. I know it has a long history. I know it's even read and consulted outside of Croatia. And also, if you tell us about the magazine, and given your very probably multiple decades of experience in writing this very relevant magazine, I guess this also gave you a lot of knowledge into the current status of the energy market in Croatia, as well as a little bit about the market potential and maybe the little issues that exist. So that's just some thoughts that I'm curious about, and I'm sure our audience is curious about as well. And I give the floor to you.
Yes, Dan, you are correct. So we have been present here for almost 3 decades. So in the next March, in the March 2023, we shall celebrate the 30 years of our existence. All this time, we have been systematically devoted to promotion of technology and professional thinking when it comes to energy in all its forms, as well in all areas of energy use and in all related areas, like say from gas, renewables, maintenance, environment, and so on. And all of these years, for all of these years, we have become an unavoidable place in Croatia and neighboring countries to all energy-related issues. So we today, besides the magazine, we successfully organize, let's say, 5 to 6 events, live events per year. And up to now, we have published more than 20 technical books. For example, I have this here. I think some of you from Croatia might remember it. It was actually the first book concerning heat pumps. It was published in 2009. It's actually possibilities of heat pumps association. A lot of people from faculty of mechanical engineering worked on this, and a lot of companies participated inside. In any case, in small countries like Croatia, a constant transfer of knowledge and technologies and circulation of ideas are necessary, because only in this way the challenges of the future could be met. So me, myself, and the company I'm working for, and my magazine and my portal and everything else, and my colleagues as well, we are very proud to play a very important role in this. So we shall be particularly pleased if we continue our collaboration with EHPA as well as other relevant European technical associations in the future. And I think that will be on our mutual satisfaction. So, what else?
Thank you so much. Yes,
Yeah,
of course. So that was all the curiosities I had. And thank you so much for presenting the magazine. I will let Boris now introduce the next speakers. And it's very much a pleasure to have you here again, and as well as the subsequent speakers and their presentations and expertise. Again, feel free to use the chat box and Q&A, or if something pops up afterwards, just write us an email with the name of the speaker that you would like to present this question towards, and we'll make sure that they get it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dan, for this intro. And now the microphone is mine. So first speaker we have today is Marina Malinovac-Pucek, lead expert from the Energy Institute of Labudovic, Department for Energy Efficiency. Some words about Marina. Marina is working as lead expert in the field of energy efficiency and renewable energy sources, with the focus on heating and cooling of buildings at the Croatian Institute. She is now deeply involved in the process of energy certification of buildings in Croatia and participates currently in Horizon 2020 project EUD Superhub. In 2021, she was working on the comprehensive assessment of the potential for efficient heating and cooling in Croatia. And now, Marina, we shall hear your presentation, Pure Heating and Cooling Energy Demand in Croatia. You have 5 to 7 minutes, so please be as short as possible.
Okay, thank you, Boris, for your introduction. So before I begin with this online presentation, let me wish you all a very warm welcome from the premises of Energy Institute Croatia. In the next few minutes, I'm going to present to you current heating and cooling energy demand in Croatia. So I have pressed once, but it's not moving. Okay, the next slide. So the traditional scope of activity of Energy Institute Croatia includes energy statistics, development of energy balances, but also includes elaboration of annual energy reports. And you can see from this slide that the last published energy in Croatia refers to the year 2020, but please be aware that in this presentation, I will stick to the year 2019, because within the comprehensive assessment of the potential for efficient heating and cooling in Croatia, we have analyzed that year. So we can see that total primary energy consumption in Croatia in 2019, it was 405 petajoules, but final energy consumption was 288 petajoules. Please be aware, you can see also that the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on energy consumption in Croatia too. On the next slide, you see one table that presents the structure of the total final energy consumption in 3 characteristic final consumption sector. Those are industry, transport, and other sectors. Please note that other sector includes households, services, agriculture, and construction. Also, households and services represent together building stock. So we all know that building stock is the biggest energy consuming sector, and in Croatia it accounts for about 45% of final energy consumption. Well, I don't know if you all know, but according to the Article 14 of Energy Efficiency Directive, EU member states are required to submit a comprehensive assessment of the potential for efficient heating and cooling. And Croatia submitted its second comprehensive assessment last year. Within this comprehensive assessment, we have analyzed 3 sectors. Those are households, services, and industry. Please be aware that 70% of total final energy consumption in those 3 sectors EU is used for heating and cooling. Also be aware that 62% of the final energy consumption for heating and cooling is used in household sector. So it's the biggest one. Also, we have to be aware, and as expected, Croatia final energy consumption for heating and cooling in Croatia is, I would say, insignificant compared, for example, to Austria or to Germany. So actually, it's pretty low value compared to the values from Austria and Germany. The next slides show to you final energy consumption for heating and cooling by sectors, broken down by sectors, and also broken down by type of end uses. You can see that, of course, in household sector, final energy is used mostly for space heating, then for domestic hot water preparation, and partly is used for space cooling. In service, when we talk about service sector, we can see that the most of energy is used for space heating, and when we talk about industry sector, it's clear that most of energy, final energy, is used for process heating. On the next slide, I have You can see from this slide that when we talk about household sectors, households represent single-family houses and multifamily apartment buildings, and we can see that 70% of the final energy consumption for heating and cooling in the household is used in single-family houses. So single-family houses uses more energy than apartment building. That is clear from this slide. On the next slide, you can see final energy consumption for space heating in household sector, broken down by technologies. It's obviously that in Croatia prevails individual space heating, that type of heating that is, of course, very inefficient and causes large losses. From this slide, you can see that logwood and natural gas in household sector account for the biggest share in the structure of the final energy consumption in Croatia, followed by electricity. If we go to the next sector, service sector, we will see that electricity and natural gas account for the biggest share in the structure of final energy in the service sector too. The next slide will show also total final energy consumption for space for heating and for cooling, and also for domestic hot water preparation. And you see here those two tables representing energy provided on-site and energy provided off-site. It's clearly visible that only 6.5% of the final energy consumption for heating and cooling is delivered by means of district heating system. Also, here you can see here final energy consumption for heating and cooling broken down by technology. So we have fossil fuel sources. We also have renewable energy sources for every sector analyzed within this comprehensive assessment. So when we talk about heating, about efficient heating, in my opinion, if we talk about cities, the most optimal solution is certainly district heating system, of course, if available. Our goal is to reduce the district heating network distribution losses, and our goal is to modernize it, to renovate district heating plants by introducing industrial waste heat, by introducing geothermal heat, or maybe we can use solar thermal heat, or one of the solutions certainly will be installing high capacity heat pumps. Also, we are already using boilers fired with biomass. Some of plants in Croatia are using that kind of technology. And actually in Croatia at the moment, we are using in district heating plants mostly combined heat and power plants fired by natural gas. And we have boilers fired by fossil fuels that we need to phase out with the time. If a district heating system is not available, then we can use individual system with different solution possible. One of them, of course, is heat pumps. I think that it's a really good solution that reduces CO2 emission. Then we have pretty low also running costs, but the problem is that we have to renovate our building firstly. And then the second problem is too high upfront cost. So in my opinion, in Croatia, we won't be able to increase the number of installed heat pumps without grants or without incentives. Maybe, Boris, I'm too fast, I'm sorry. And I don't know if all of you know, in December last year's a new proposal for a directive of energy efficiency of building is published. And this directive is really important for us because it introduces a whole set of novelties. So this revised directive sets out how Europe can achieve a zero emission and fully decarbonized building stock by 2050. Also, we can see that they have introduced also zero emission building. We will have renovation passport. We will have digital building logbooks. And we can see that this revision of EPBD directive supports the replacement of inefficient fossil fuel boilers pumps by systems such as, of course, heat pumps. So this directive is also very, very important because it introduces the whole set of novelties that will change a lot in our building stock too in Croatia. And on my last slide, I want to show you one student dormitory in Varaždin that I find is equipped with perfect technical building solution. So actually this dormitory is opening in 2017, and for space heating, for space cooling, and for domestic hot water, 2 water-to-water heat pumps manufactured in Menerga are installed, and also for generating of electricity, they have installed PV panels on the roof, as you can see. So actually, this is a highly efficient passive building with the highest energy performance rating possible. You can see that specific primary energy is only 7 kilowatt hours per square meter annually. And of course, EPC label is A+. So I think that this is really a perfect solution, but as I have already mentioned to you, we have 2 main problems. I can only suggest heat pumps when the building is properly insulated. This is the first problem. And the second problem, as I have already said, upfront cost of heat pumps are really, really too high. According to my calculations, they are, at least in Croatia, the simple payback period is around 20 years, for example, for heat pump water to water. And that is really too high because lifespan of heat pump water to water is approximately 15 years. So that's all from my side.
Okay, Marina, thank you very much for this interesting presentation and for this at least conclusion that now we know that 20 years is a payback period, which is quite not good. Anyway, I think we still have some time to discuss some questions. For example, if we take into account that log wood still represents, let's say, 50% of the structural final energy consumption for heating and cooling in Croatian households, and then again, it's natural gas with about 25%. Are there any left space for greater use of heat pumps in households when it comes to space heating and domestic hot water preparation? Well, I cannot see some space in households, of course.
There will be some space if we will have grants and incentives, because you all know that logs are very well established traditional fuel in Croatia, primarily used for space heating of single family houses, but we know all why, because that's the cheapest option to heat a single family house. And logs are also suitable for poorly insulated houses, but the problem is that we are using logs in very inefficient way, and that causes large losses, energy losses, because most of the energy is escaping up the chimney. And also we have problems related to wood burning, because if we burn logs in an inefficient way, that means that air pollution, especially in densely populated area, is high. We don't want that. So actually, I think that in cities like Zagreb, there is no space for any kind of burning of fuel, not just only logs. I see cities where buildings are connected either to district heating system, or that they building are equipped with heat pumps. Heat pumps are a great solution. I didn't say anything against that, but we need grants and we need incentives in order to install them more and in order to increase the number of installed heat pumps in Croatia. So there is a lot of space. There is a big potential in Croatia. Somebody needs to push us to use that new modern renewable technology.
Okay, but who would push us? How to define these policy measures? Who are responsible for that? The state, the Ministry of, let's say, Physical Planning, Construction and State Assets, or let's say Ministry of Economy and Sustainable Development, or funds, or maybe on local or county levels or city levels? What's your opinion? Who would be whose task would it be?
Well, if we talk about buildings, that's the part of Ministry of Construction and Physical Planning and State Assets in Croatia. Also, you have also seen that fund in Croatia is giving some kind of support to single family houses, but that is still enough. We need more. We need more of that. Probably they will repeat that, but. So it's a responsibility of Ministry of Construction and Physical Planning, I would say.
Okay, but nevertheless, we still have several regional energy agencies which also have incentives and things like that for use the heat pump. I think that now we have exhausted all the questions and our time as well. I'll just maybe a few words as a conclusion for this part. Well, the potential seems definitely great. If we take into account that almost 50% of Croatia's population use firewood for heating, that's the place where we should put, push these heat pumps. But if we then take into account that these are almost extremely low-income people who cannot afford another way of heating and cooling, we might have to find another areas of use this technology like heat pumps, because heat pumps is not cheap technology. So since Croatia is definitely a tourist country, I think that the great potential for the larger use of heat pumps for heating, domestic hot water preparation, cooling, and even heating of pool water is, let's say, in tourism and catering. But also for heating and cooling of business. We saw in this gas crisis that a lot of entrepreneurs are very concerned about high prices of gas. But these gas are mostly not for production, but let's say for heating the office buildings and something like that. So maybe in this area we could find a very, very nice area for bigger use of heat pumps. So I think these are areas that the experts in the field and decision makers need to focus on. So, Dan, I think we can now switch to another participant. Okay, thank you very much. Luka, are you here?
I am here. I hope you can hear me.
Okay, now I will short introduce you for the people who still don't know you. Luka is now a postdoc at the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering and Naval Architecture. His professional research work includes design, modeling, laboratory, and field investigation of heat pumps and shallow geothermal energy systems. He currently performs the role of secretary in the Croatian Heat Pumps Association and is assistant editor of the technical magazine Heat Pump Technology. And besides that, I have to say that Luka once, let's say before, he was my associate in the Edgy magazine, and in that way he gained a very, very good expertise when he was still a student. So, Luka, I suggest that you start with your presentation.
Thank you very much.
We shall have several questions.
Thank you very much, Boris, for the introduction, and thank you for the invite, and greetings from the Croatian Heat Pump Association for all those who joined our webinar. I will start out with just a few sentences about Croatia, because I think it's important to recognize that we have rather three climatically different regions. We have continental part with mild continental climate, we have Adriatic part with Mediterranean climate, and we have, I would say, central mountainous region where some colder climates can be found. Majority of buildings and people are located in continental and coastal part, where both heating and cooling are important aspects when we are considering thermal comfort in occupied buildings. Also in continental part, as Marina before me said, there is developed district heating system network, and also there is developed Croatian gas network. So in continental part, consumers have different options when they are choosing what kind of heating systems will they install. Unfortunately, as has been already pointed out, Croatia's purchasing power on average is among lowest in the EU countries, below EU average values. Also, we are witnessing recently by the census made last year that we are facing increased depopulation trends, especially in rural areas. All that leads to investment potential being small compared to the average on the EU level. Also, that means that I would say average user or consumer on the market is more oriented towards investment costs than to potential energy savings in the future by means of more efficient system. If we plot the data about purchasing power GDP or heating degree days as some kind of measure of the potential of the energy savings compared to the major heat pump markets in European Union, data can be found in European Heat Pump Market Statistic Report made by the EHPA. We can see that Croatia's numbers are located on the opposite side of the countries that have high penetration of the heat pumps. That would be some kind of the current status of the heat pumps in Croatia. Fortunately, there are some positive changes because activities in the building sector are improving. And what is most important, all new buildings must comply with nearly zero energy building standards. It is a major driver for the heat pump market because heat pumps are recognized as renewable energy sources, and certain amount of renewable energy must be as envisioned when new buildings are built. That is especially important, for example, in areas that do not have developed gas or district heating network, where basically market share is around 90% for the heat pumps. Unfortunately, the renovation rate is still low in Croatia overall. There are plans and needs to increase it in order to achieve goals that are needed for the energy transition, but also I think the market uptake of the heat pumps renovation is also much lower than when we are considering newly built buildings. So basically there is huge potential for the heat pumps, but some kind of schemes and solutions need to be developed for the heat pumps to be financially competitive, and in the end so they can find their way in the renovation sector of the building activities. In the last few years, there have been periodically funds for the subsidy programs for the funding of increased use of renewable sources and increase of energy efficiency in family buildings. They are made and organized by our Environmental Protection and Energy Efficiency Fund. I think that now there has been established some kind of regular opening and calls, I think 2 times per year. So basically, we have now some kind of stable framework for the planning of investments in renovation of family houses. Heat pumps are subsidized up to 40% in developed regions, and undeveloped regions between 60 to 80%. There is also separate call for energy poor households, where they can apply for 100% subsidy or up to 27,000 euros. This is something very important for those who really don't have any investment capacities to really improve their energy performance of their homes or their households. Also, there is increased interest, as Marina also pointed out before me, for the integration of large capacity heat pumps as a partial option for the decarbonization of district heating systems. And one type of solution that is gaining interest recently in, I would say, public space are the seawater coupled systems. They are very interesting for coastal cities and especially for the coastal heritage sites, where conservation authorities often limit the installation of technical solutions on the facades and the roofs of the buildings. Basically, you don't have option to install solar thermal collectors or photovoltaics on your roof. So basically, you need to place all your technical system inside the building. One famous example is Dubrovnik, UNESCO World Heritage Site, where city officials issued ordinance that all outdoor units of the heat pumps and air conditioners must be removed from the facades of the buildings if they are visible from the street. So basically, you have to develop a whole new technological approach to provide heating and cooling for the city center. That is important for the tourism and for the recognition of the Dubrovnik and Croatia overall. Fortunately, in city center already exists example of the seawater coupled heat pump system. Rector's Palace, with I think 2 more buildings for the last I think 40 or 50 years, have been heated and cooled with seawater heat pump systems. The system has been I think renovated recently with total capacity of over 400 kilowatts. Marina addressed very well, and Boris, you too, that investment capacity is really limiting factor for the heat pump market development. But I also think that discussion about the heat pumps should include a few more topics, not just return of investment calculation, because heat pumps really can provide full thermal comfort with one system. We can cool, we can heat, we can prepare domestic hot water. We can increase productivity and quality of life in buildings that have such systems. We can reduce number of energy carriers for the buildings. That is something interesting for the developers. And in the end, we can increase the market value of real estate. I really like the quotation Mr. Thomas Novak used, saying that heat pumps bulletproof our homes and houses for the future, because they open up potential for the smart integration with different renewable energy sources, and they provide us opportunity of active participation in future energy markets. I think there will be some talk about the topic from Mr. Bosniak. So I think that heat pump consideration must include much more than just financial part of the story. I think we are all very well aware that heat pumps are integral part of energy transition and decarbonization of heating and cooling sector. But I also think that for our country, heat pump sector development can also serve as integral part in improving social, economy, and demographic conditions. But we just need to make sure we create preconditions for that to happen.
Yes, thank you, Luca, very much for this very interesting presentation as well as this conclusion. I would just have two questions. First would be, which EU country, given the habits and mentality of the population, purchase power and heating and cooling needs, could serve as a role model or media for experience transfer for further development of heat pump market in Croatia, and why? Can you please name a few countries?
Okay.
Or...
Thank you. Generally, I think there is no fit for all model that can be applied to all markets. I think there is just large number of influencing factors that change periodically on national, regional, and European level. Even our small country has large diversity. Something that is ideal for the continental part of Croatia cannot be ideal for Adriatic part of Croatia or for the mountainous region. I think in the end, variety is what makes the life joyful, but it also teaches us that we need to develop solutions that can be tailor-made for specific countries, or even better for specific regions. I think mentality of the population and climatic conditions are very important aspects to consider. And I think we need to first develop a list of good solutions, and then we can have basis for the proactively participation in creation of conditions that can lead to a larger application of such solutions, whether we are talking about legal or economic barriers, for example, for the larger uptake of the heat pumps. From that point of view, I think it is interesting to follow countries or even regions that we find close to our way of life. For example, such regions we can find in Slovenia, Austria, Italy, Hungary. So basically, I think those are the countries where we can learn most from, or adopt some good technical solutions or good legal solutions to increase the uptake of the heat pumps.
Okay, thank you. Can you just for short give us a very short SWOT analysis of heat pumps to use in Croatia? You have just said more about limitations and opportunities, but let's say, can you say some few words more?
In generally, my first slide about the climatic conditions was aimed to point out that I think all type of heat pumps can perform efficiently in Croatia. We really can satisfy heating and cooling needs in efficient manner. I think also market is dominated by air-to-water heat pumps. We are talking about hydronic system, of course, due to lower investments compared to the ground coupled or groundwater coupled systems, and also easiness for the installation. I think ground coupled and groundwater systems are very interesting. They should be strongly promoted because they provide really great efficiencies on a yearly basis. Unfortunately, their development and their uptake is limited by needed, I would say, time-consuming and financial allocation for the preparation phase. In the design phase and exploratory works, also there is fee imposed for the use of groundwater, although we are obliged to return the same water to the aquifer we took it out for the heat pump. For example, seawater heat pumps are very difficult to implement due to legislation rules for the right of the use of the seawater. So basically, I think they will only be possible to implement the large system where local community and local stakeholders will support such measures. I also think that one type of heat pumps is not very popular in Croatia, and I think these are the heat pump water heaters. They are simple devices, and they can really provide a quick and easy decarbonization of domestic hot water preparation sector, especially in coastal area where usually electric boilers are used for the preparation of hot water. I think that is ideal solution for quick decarbonization of that sector. And regarding of the type of the heat pump, and regarding whether we are talking about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, or threats, one important aspect we need to discuss among all stakeholders involved in heat pump and heating sector are the people who will carry the transition. Installers, engineers, designers, those who are involved in the system, who need to know what heat pump system is applicable for each consumer. They need to design and size the system so that it can perform efficiently. And I think that it's very, very important that we teach the people, we create conditions for their, I would say, improvement of their skills, and to really disseminate and promote good practice and good solution and good companies in the end that can provide systems that will perform efficiently as they are expected.
Okay, thank you, Luca, very much. So we heard that there is actually no solution that would fit for all cases. So for each area of use, several standard solutions should be proposed as a basis for designers and investors in order to speed up the whole process and make easier decisions. And finally, I think, as just Luca said, it is very important for heat pump market and the type of heat pumps to have skillful installers and to have skillful engineers that could propose and will propose the best possible solution for every particular project. So I think that we are now finished with this part, and we can switch to another participant. That's Labudovic from Herzegovina, that means head trade. He is actually head of intraday and trading and planning services in short-term portfolio management department in Herzegovina. That's a member of HED Group. HED is the Croatian National Fund Corporation. In the past 16 years, he has gained operational experience in many fields and has a practical experience in interdisciplinary teamwork, knowledge management, and negotiation. And now we are going to see and hear his opinions about opportunities and risks of 100% renewable heating and cooling. So our microphone is yours. Dan, can you please switch? Davor, can you please turn on? Yes, okay. I think you are still mute.
Oh.
Mute again.
Just a second. Hello.
It's working now, actually. We can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hear me? Yes. Okay. So thank you, Boris. Thank you all for gathering together. In the following couple of slides, we will see all the opportunities, or most of the opportunities and potential risks of having 100% renewable heating and cooling, looking from the HEP's portfolio optimization perspective. Our work or our job is usually in 1 second very simple, in another one very complex, and it sometimes looks like an art. We can see from these 2 points why. Because we have to deal with 2 sorts of unpredictabilities, stochastic variables at the same time. The first one is the volatility of the nature, and another one is the volatility of the behavior of our customers, consumers, the energy. So we need to preserve in every second, together with the colleagues from DSO and DSO market operators, stable frequency in this power system, 50 Hertz. But at the same time, we have too many challenges looking from the nature examples that we all experienced, weather extremes, hydro extremes, all other sort of extremes. And in another way, all the behavior anomalies from the market, from the deviation of the customers' diagrams, and all other different trends that we need to obey and manage. Therefore, we always like to speak that we have to be aware of all the risks in our daily work. So let's see on the map our power system that is strongly interconnected with the neighboring power systems in one strong, stable union of the power systems, where we have majority of the consumption situated around large cities. Approximately 50% of the electricity consumption is situated around Zagreb, 20–25% around Split region, 15% around Rijeka region, and approximately 10% here in Slavonia. What might be sometimes the problem? People are always in the motion, so we don't have the same percentage all over the year. We are a tourist country, as Luca mentioned, and Marina as well. So during the summer period, most of the electricity consumption turns to be here. Also, during the strong weather impacts, when we have a strong Bora wind or some other strong impacts, then we have a sudden deviations from the consumers, both heat consumers and electricity consumers here, because most of the people consume electricity for the heating purposes in the coastal region. When we go further and take the numbers from the previous month, we can see that we have approximately almost 30% of renewables installed already in Croatia, roughly 45% of hydro, and less than 20% of thermal power plants, and less than 10% of nuclear energy being imported from nuclear power plant Krško. Meaning that we are very dependable on the weather. And we don't have too much capacity for balancing the whole system. And very soon, the ratio will become almost like that. So almost 50% of electricity in generation capacity will be out of renewables, 35% from hydro, and less than 11% from nuclear, from thermal. And in thermal, we mean here CCGT, so high efficient generation, and central heating generators, and only a few of other thermal plants that are very, very useful for the balancing of the whole power system. So what could be the answer? When we speak about the risks we have every day in our daily work, in our portfolio, we speak about simple equation. So we need to cover in every second all the potential generation that we have: nuclear energy, hydro energy, thermal energy, renewables. And we need to cover the needs of our customers together with the losses in the grid. And to be able to have equation in every second of our diagrams, we need to use market as well. So we need to buy our needs, to import the energy when we don't have strong potential here, or we need to sell the extra surpluses when we have too much of the renewables and hydro generation, for instance, more than our customers need at that time, and more than we can store in our local storages. So what are the risks? We have too many stochastic variables. Every variable here is individual. They usually don't have anything together with the variables here. Also, simultaneity factor is very, very important for us. So sometimes we have occasions that we suffer from extra droughts or extra floods. And we have limited amount of generators able to cover all the breathing needs of our customers and to cover all the volatilities in the market. So when we see the examples from the previous months or the whole previous year and in even the current situation in the market, we can see that the market prices are extremely high, much higher than almost ever before. So we can ask ourselves the question, what would be the case if the market won't be able to cover all the inequalities here and here to have this equation in the balance? So we can see these pictures. We can see that children usually are playing on the tethers, and usually they like to have more individuals in their team. So they usually play in different types this game. So they used to have different balances in different ways. But if you have too many of children in such game, someone can be hurt. If you look on the physical side of the story, when we see a natural spring, we can see that usually it is elastic. So once you started putting attention, it is elastic until this yield point. Once you put your pressure larger than the ability to have natural elastic recovery, tense or other force, you will get the point when you can't get elasticity anymore. So similar is with the power system. We have all heard about such stories in Italy 2003, several times in California, in Texas, where people just use the post notes to say, we all need to wait the electricity to come once we have this equation in the order again. So if we move further, from looking just on the risks, we can see also the huge potential and few opportunities. Our dispatching center in Happy strongly correlates with HOPS National Dispatching Center, who is responsible for preserving the stable electricity and the frequency and all other variables in the power system. And we provide most of the ancillary services in Croatia. So we provide 99.9% of the balancing energy for Croatia. Usually we do it just by watching the behavior of our customers, and we try to forecast on a day-ahead level their, let's say, behavior curve. And we also monitor each hour the realization of our plan. Whenever we have a mistake, we try to cover that mistake using our own generation units. Sometimes we use the intraday market also to cover such needs. But having so much renewables in our system, we are not the only one responsible for such balancing needs anymore. Also, we are trying to figure out the potential ways how to use our customers in providing such extra flexibility. So why just sit and wait how our customers will behave according to our forecast? Let's try to motivate them to be an active participant of giving extra balancing energy in our portfolio and in the whole Croatian power system. Therefore, we are having a plan to establish a HEP aggregator, the new service or the new subject who will provide the possibility to connect our end customers together with TSO and whole TSOs in the Europe in the forthcoming time. I usually like to have as a role model Nikola Tesla, because usually he says that if we want to find secrets in the universe, we need to think in the terms of both energy, frequency, and vibration. This is similar like having a concert where you have a manager of the orchestra. Orchestra could be the generation units, and you have the audience, and the audience usually are customers. But nowadays you have mutual collaboration between the audience and the orchestra, and the smart orchestra manager can combine all these small units in having a great masterpiece. So moving further, heat pumps can serve as an ideal opportunity for additional energy storage in the power system. We all speak about the need for extra storage in order to have this location being able to preserve in every second. And heating and cooling, as Marina said, represents most of the electricity or final energy consumption in Croatia. So it is highly dependable on weather conditions. And this has a huge impact on both of our electricity load curve and local heating curves as well. But let's be positive. If you take a Nash equilibrium, normal equilibrium for every market participant, every participant should have a motivation to use such sudden threats of the load curve and sudden weather as an opportunity for getting extra profit for all those who can provide this extra flexibility. Every single family house, every building in far future or even near future should be able to have several ways of giving this extra flexibility, using heat pumps, using extra renewables, using some batteries, any sort of energy storage, and use us and other aggregators available in the market to increase the controllable degrees of freedom and help markets and system operators to have extra flexibility and extra liquidity in the system. So smart houses should communicate through energy communities, through aggregators towards TSOs and DSOs in preserving the stability of the whole system. And thermal inertia as a storage is a wonderful example how to achieve such extra storage. Together with predictive automation, could give extra flexibility that is very needed in today and especially in the near future. But every new market service and every product in the market has a life cycle. And it also requires new tools and adequate support in order to survive the market. So the first phase is usually a takeoff, where you have motivation usually just from the innovators. Then it has some kind of attraction in the market, where the visionaries and early adopters usually try to use such a service or the product. And after some time, this product or service realizes their peak. And after some times, it goes down and down, it dives and it lands. But smart companies usually try to innovate all the time and offer the new services in the market in order to have other of them to wait while the first one goes into the peak, and to be able to provide the new one in the market to offer to our customers or every customer the opportunity how to use it in order to be able to conquer the challenges. But usually in that way, we have this famous debt value curve. So after some time, the motivation is being lost. usually the product or the service need extra financial support, financial injection. So therefore, we have such roundtables, such communication needed from together with different levels in the Croatia, in the EU Union, where we need to be able to use such, I would say, extra grants to cover this net value curve. Because in that way, we will have smart, adequate investment, which will give all of us smart solutions. And at the end, this will give us a smart grid, about which we speak more than 20 years. And this is like suing a plant. It takes some extra effort to get a plant, but once the plant is healthy, we all can live from the yielding of the products. In the conclusion, we can choose whether to be a kind of trendsetter or just wait in our store that the new fashion comes and then just go and buy the final product. In order to achieve all the goals that we have in front of us, both national ones and both EU ones, we need to choose which path to take. The one which takes this defensive way, wait and see, or the one that is more proactive. Let's give it a try. And at the end, being a market maker, which usually we are in Croatian markets and in the region, it's a very challengeable role because market maker creates liquidity and trust, but it takes a lot of effort to really achieve both liquidity and trust in the market and in the power. And for the very end, we are not a passive observer in the cosmos. The entire universe is expressing itself through this very moment. Therefore, we need to join all our forces and really to accomplish this synergy about we all are listening and speaking.
Okay, thank you, Davor, very much. So we all of us have already got a message from Dan. First of all, that we are in very, very big overtime, let's say about 50 minutes. So, well, is it possible to skip the questions for you, Davor? And maybe
Yes.
to explain them later, or maybe...
Yes, or via email if anybody wants.
Yeah,
yes.
because Dan has just asked us if it would be possible. So we shall get to the last participant today. That's Mr. Fragaquis from Harvard, Croatian Bank for Reconstruction and Development. On contrary of all other participants today, Marina, Luca, and Davor, they are actually engineers. Harvard is economist. He is advisor at Harvard and advisor to the management board. So now we shall have we shall not have his presentation, but we shall go through several questions about Harvard and its role in this energy efficiency and renewables market in Croatia. So, Harvard, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you well.
Yeah, well, we shall have to be very, very short. So yeah. I have just 4 questions, but since we have already discussed about those questions, I think there wouldn't be any problem. So it seems that in the last few years, Harvard has become more and more oriented toward projects concerning energy efficiency and renewables. What is the main reason for such an orientation toward green technologies? Can you just shortly explain us?
Thank you, Boris, and really thank to all other presenters. It was really interesting for me to listen to, as a banker, the whole, market position and what is happening, because HBOR, being a Croatian development bank, is trying to support, general growth of the Republic of Croatia, particularly our economy, but also the changes in the economy, changes in the environment, and we are doing that since 1992. So from that point of view, we are really trying to support all of the new initiatives. Being a banker, we are not able to design a new, I don't know, technologies, design the new initiatives, but we are able to support them in order to be more, let's say, implemented on the market, in order to reach energy efficiencies, to reach certain national and EU goals when it comes to renewable energy, etc., etc. So being a development and export bank of Republic of Croatia, so state-owned bank, we have really started in the early beginnings of the development of the Croatian renewable energy market. We have started with our activities in terms of financial support to this kind of projects. So we have been financing the implementation of the projects, but also the development of such projects, particularly in renewable energy sources, so biomass, so wind plants, hydro energy, cogeneration. All of these activities are something of an interest of HBOR, because we are witnessing that this kind of activities, renewable sources of energy, energy efficiency, is something that will determine the competitiveness of the Croatian market in the future. So at the beginning of this whole panel, we have heard that Croatian market is having less investment capacities. Our people are having less money for heat pumps or any other kind of, let's say, new technologies that are appearing on the market. But on the other hand, we have to follow those trends, and it is also one of the obligations of HBOR to support the local economy in order for them to be able to implement these kind of activities. In particular, in this case, we are talking about the heat pumps. I can fully agree with you when you said that although potentially our retail segment, so the households, are not so in a position to invest in these kind of technologies without some kind of strong subsidies, grants or whatever it is, but there are possibilities in the other sectors, whether it's industry or whether it is, I would say, tourist sector. HBOR has invested quite a lot of and supported quite a lot of activities in the tourist sector here in Croatia, and what we are witnessing at the moment is the change in this sector, which could go align with all of the topics that we have discussed today. So we are seeing and witnessing today that strongest hotel companies, tourist companies here in Croatia are now turning to green. Why? Not because it's cheap, but it could be even, it could cost more, but the clients, which are typically clients from the European Union, from the Western countries, are asking for such services. So I would say that in this field, in this market, in which Croatia, let's say, utilizes from the foreign tourists, it will be extremely important to, let's say, provide these tourists with the services which will enable us to be more, I don't know, environment friendly, energy efficient, more sustainable in the long run. So from that point of view, I can only say that these kind of activities and the heat pumps activities could be interesting, especially in the area of the tourism, and especially in the area of the let's say, industry. So in the part of the private sector activities and potentially the public sector activities, I think that colleague from the Hrvoje Požar Institute showed us the examples of the public projects of this dormery in Varaždin, for which HBOR also, as a development bank, can provide support. Which kind of support? So besides providing potentially cheaper, let's say, loans, lower interest rates, etc., we can provide long-term financing. So this is something that in this kind of technologies can be interesting to let's say, analyze. The colleague from the Hrvoje Požar Institute told that let's say, some kind of investment period for these technologies to become profitable is over 20 years. So it is also our role to try to support investors in order to have, let's say, adequate financial resources and adequate financial models in order to finance these kind of activities. What is also on the table at the moment And this is something that we will have to utilize as a country in general. We are all very, let's say, clear here in Croatia that without the cohesion funds, EU funds in general, the investment activities in Croatia would be probably on the lower levels. For sure, there will be on the lower levels. What we are witnessing as HBOR, as one of the institutions which is, let's say, in communication with the relevant ministries, in communication with the European Commission, with all of the other, let's say, public actors in this field, is the strong will and the strong, let's say, orientation of the European Commission to green up the projects which are benefiting from the EU funds, to support the more sustainable projects. So in that respect, I can only say in conclusion that these kind of activities, whether they are renewable sources of energy, whether they are heat pumps used in district, in households, in, I don't know, industry, in services, particularly here in Croatia, in tourism, will for sure in the upcoming years have more and more support. So HBOR is one of the institutions that can provide that support, but I would say, witnessing from the activities that are happening on the market, that more and more EU funds, which will come to Croatia, will, let's say, address this issue and ask for clients, for public sector, for private sector, to come to the, let's say, to come to the solutions which are more sustainable and energy efficient. Yeah.
Okay. Now some precise questions. What are the conditions that need to be met in order to obtain an access to such funds from HABO for an entrepreneur or a small scale or medium scale business? And how can HABO funds can be requested by direct inquiry to HABO or by inquiry to commercial banks? I think this is a very good to say, because there might be some interesting some people who are interested in this way in order to clarify this.
Yeah, I can answer this question in a way. First, let me answer the second question. So we are open for cooperation with private, public companies, institutions, subjects in general, in both ways. So we are trying to develop our support with the commercial banks, with the local financial institutions. Why? Because we believe it is important not only to develop the market in the real market, you know, the final beneficiaries, but is on the long run, it is important to transfer the knowledge to the local commercial banks for them to get involved in these kind of activities, because then we are having the stronger, you know, stronger changes on the market. We can expect in those cases stronger changes on the market. So HBOR can provide its services and soft loans and long-term loans either through commercial banks or directly. Typically, directly we are financing those investments that are having higher risks. I will just give an example. At the beginning of investments in renewable sources in Croatia, HBOR was predominantly financing this kind of investment directly. When the commercial banks saw that there is, let's say, a good financial model in these kind of projects, then they came also to the table and joined us in this kind of support. When it comes to the question, the second question that you have asked regarding the conditions and regarding the let's say terms that need to be let's say fulfilled by the clients. Of course, being a financial institutions, we are always looking on the financial viability of the project. So this is the key issue that has to be addressed. But as I said in the previous explanation, although these kind of technologies can be expensive, our experience, especially coming from the tourist sector and especially coming from the industry, are showing that these parts of the market can afford this kind of activities because they are financially sustainable, because their clients, final beneficiaries, you know, tourists, whoever comes to a hotel, are willing to pay more in order to have vacation in a hotel which has low let's say, environment impact in that respect. And we are really witnessing that this part, potentially the households, as we heard, could be questionable because of the whole situation of the power, let's say, the investment possibilities. But in the theory sector and industry, this is totally different. And this kind of, let's say, investors typically, alongside with us as a bank, are also looking for the financial sustainability of the projects. So in that respect, that is the key, the key issue. Also, one thing that has to be mentioned at the end is that by utilizing these new European investment funds, Next Generation EU, HBR was really, I would say, one of the key players here in Croatia in defining some new financial instruments, new financial products. We are expecting that in upcoming years, in the upcoming 4 or 5 years, HBR will, for this kind of projects, so projects which are having energy efficiency effects, renewable energy sources, elements, etc., will be able to have the interest rates which are 50 to 75% lower than for those projects that are not having this kind of green components. So I would say that the possibilities on the financial markets will develop, and we will be able to support the investors.
Okay, and just for the end, can you please name a few successful examples of such financing? And what
Yeah, we really had a lot of different examples. HBR has supported in the last 10-15 years more than 2.5 billion kunas of investments in renewable sources. So we have a lot of examples, whether these are examples from the solar energy, from the wind plants, from the, I don't know, biomass. So quite a lot of different activities. In the last couple of years, we are witnessing more and more investments in the, let's say, buildings which are energy efficient. And I would say that I'm not a technician, but from my economical point of view, I can only say that we have already witnessed the investments which are also involving the heat pumps and involving the technologies that we have discussed today. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think this, up to now, we have exhausted our time, even overtime, just half an hour overtime. And we heard many interesting things, and I hope this this seminar would be of benefit for future development of Croatian heat pump market. Well, as I can able to see, now it's time for Savina to say something. Or...
Yes, thank you very much. I'm so happy to have heard you all. Very interesting insights. And since we got carried on in all this very, very useful information that all the speakers provided, we also went over time. But I hope this was an interesting and insightful online seminar for all of us. And on behalf of EHPA and also on behalf of all the speakers, I thank you all for joining us. Thank you very much to all the speakers. Dan is here too. And I'm inviting you to follow us for the next online seminars that we are organizing at the HPA. And also you can learn about all our activities through our social media channels and HPA's website. Thank you very much, everyone.